Kylian Mbappé once said that the Euros were more difficult than the World Cup.
I consider the Euros more complicated than the World Cup, more complicated to win. If we talk about level, the Euros is more difficult because we are so used to playing against each other. Tactically, it is similar football.
Yeah, first of all, I'm not surprised that Kylian Mbappé is making this sort of comments because it's not the first time that we have heard Eurocentric comments and Euro-biased comments from Kylian Mbappé.
A lot of people, myself included, laughed. How could there be anything more difficult than the most prestigious tournament in football history? Well, the guy who has played in more World Cup finals than the number of Euros he has appeared in had a point, because when it comes to the World Cup, Kylian Mbappé becomes a different player.
He scored 2 goals today and crazy numbers. Like Thierry said, he will always score. He's only 27. He's gonna bring more goals.
I said at the beginning of the game, MVP will always be Kylian.
The 2026 World Cup has been no different. He opened the tournament with a brilliant brace against Senegal.
Oh, they picked another good angle again. Oh, brilliant from Mbappe! Brilliant! Mbappe! There's a goal for the world! You know, we mentioned that before. Kylian answered the call. And I was very confident and said I will back him for him to answer the call. And he did. But he will always be our MVP.
He followed that with another 2 goals against Iraq.
Mbappe hits it! Oh, what a strike! Big mistake this is. It's on a plate for Mbappe!
Against Norway, Mbappe swapped goals for assists, setting up Ousmane Dembélé twice.
To have Dembélé in your Arsenal, to have Mbappe, we saw what Elise did again today. This team is something else.
Well, and that's the scary part about France, that we're talking about Ousmane Dembélé, the current Ballon d'Or winner, and he may not be their best player. We're talking about Kylian Mbappé, who may end up winning the Golden Boot.
Then came another statement performance against Sweden in the round of 32. Mbappe scored twice in a dominant 3-0 win.
And Mbappe! Star after... Oh, sweet. Mbappe, so sweet!
In the round of 16 against Paraguay, France needed their captain once again. In what became a UFC pay-per-view fight at one point, Mbappe calmly converted the winning penalty. Mbappe has proven that when the World Cup comes around, there are few players in football history that are as dangerous as him. Every game he's breaking some kind of record. With his brace against Sweden, he reached 10 career World Cup knockout goals, becoming the outright leader in tournament history. He also became France's all-time leading goal scorer during the opening match against Senegal. His first goal of the tournament was the 58th of his international career, taking him past Olivier Giroud's long-standing record. Of course, since then, he's already climbed up so much further. His consistency at the World Cup is unlike anything the tournament has ever seen. The brace against Sweden marked his 7th multi-goal World Cup match, 6 braces and 1 hat-trick. No player in history has come close to matching that level of repeated dominance. France's win over Sweden also gave him another remarkable milestone. It was his 15th World Cup win, making him the winningest French player in tournament history. Across the entire history of the World Cup, only Lionel Messi, Miroslav Klose, and Cafu have won more matches. And once again, he's at the top in the race for the Golden Boot. Now, what are the chances of him actually winning the award again? Well, we have data for it, thanks to the sponsor of this video, Kalshi, the largest prediction market in the United States. Here's what makes Kalshi different. You are not playing against a house. Kalshi is peer-to-peer trading. You buy a yes or no contract on whether something will happen, and you're trading directly against other users. Think of it like buying or selling a stock. The line isn't set by some algorithm working against you. It moves based on where the money goes. Public opinion sets the price. Right now, Mbappe to win the Golden Boot is trading at this, meaning a $100 trade pays out this much with a correct prediction. And as that probability shifts, you can buy in or out of your position at any time to lock in a profit or cut a loss. Kalshi is CFTC approved, federally regulated, which is why it's available all across the country, including California and Texas. Download the Kalshi app and use code PETTALKS to get $10 when you trade $10. As unstoppable as Kylian Mbappe has been at the World Cup, the Euros tell a completely different story. At the World Cup, he scores almost every game and breaks records for fun. At the Euros, however, he struggled to make the same impact, managing just 1 goal across 2 tournaments. His toughest moment came at Euro 2020. France arrived as one of the favorites to win the competition, and many expected Mbappe to dominate after yet another brilliant season with Paris Saint-Germain. Instead, the tournament quickly turned into the biggest disappointment of his international career. Across 4 matches, he failed to score a single goal. He did get an assist to Karim Haramzema against Switzerland, but his overall performances were frustrating. He forced difficult shots, dribbled into crowded defenses too often, and for some reason thought he could take free kicks. Everything came to a heartbreaking end in the round of 16. France somehow threw away a 3-1 lead against Switzerland before the match went to extra time. Mbappe had a golden opportunity to win it late on after Paul Pogba played him clean through, but with only Jan Sommer to beat, he dragged a shot wide. Then came the penalty shootout. With Switzerland scoring all 5 of their pens, the pressure fell entirely on Mbappe. He had to score to keep the croissant lovers alive. Sommer guessed correctly though, diving to his right to save the pen and sent the world champions crashing out of the tournament. It became the defining image of France's shocking exit and the lowest point of Mbappe's international career. The criticism was immediate and the abuse online was relentless. For the first time in his career, many questioned whether he could handle the biggest moments outside of the World Cup. After the heartbreak of Euro 2020, Mbappe arrived at the 2024 Euros with a point to prove, especially now that he was the team captain. Instead, it became another frustrating chapter in his international career. Everything changed in France's opening match against Austria. While challenging for a header, Mbappe collided heavily with Kevin Danso and suffered a broken nose. The injury completely disrupted his tournament. Forced to wear Batman's protective mask, Mbappe admitted he struggled to see properly, comparing it to playing with virtual reality goggles. The mask restricted his peripheral vision, making it harder to spot teammates' runs and judge where defenders were around him. Sweat regularly built up inside the mask, forcing him to stop and clear his vision. And of course, the psychological impact of the injury also made him more hesitant in physical duels. To make matters worse, he missed the following match against the Netherlands before returning still clearly below full fitness. His only goal of the tournament came from his favorite spot, the penalty spot against Poland. France also didn't do much to help their captain. Didier Deschamps' side looked toothless in attack, relying on pens and own goals for most of the tournament, and failing to score from open play until the semi-finals. Talk about haram football. The physical toll became obvious in the quarterfinal against Portugal after taking several more knocks to his mask and struggling to make his famous explosive runs. Mbappe asked to be subbed during extra time, meaning he wasn't even on the pitch for the penalty shootout, his bread and butter. France eventually progressed, but Mbappe's tournament never truly got going because the next round they lost to Spain. He did get an assist, but still, for someone of Mbappe's standards, this tournament was not a great showing. When you compare his European record to what he has done at the World Cup, it's almost impossible to believe. At the World Cup, he's always been a level above everyone else. At just 19 years old, yes, 19, I don't know why people keep pretending like Mbappe was 18 during the 2018 World Cup, he arrived in Russia as France's most exciting young talent. Didier Deschamps built his team around defensive stability and quick transitions, so naturally Mbappe was the perfect weapon. While Antoine Griezmann and Paul Pogba controlled the game, Mbappe provided the pace and explosiveness that terrified defenders. He scored his first World Cup goal against Peru, becoming France's youngest ever goal scorer at a major international tournament. But the match that truly introduced him to the world came in the round of 16 against Argentina. Early in the game, Mbappe picked up the ball inside his own half and produced one of the greatest counter-attacking runs in World Cup history. Reaching a top speed of 37 kilometers per hour, he burst past multiple Argentine defenders before being brought down in the penalty area, earning the pen that Antoine Griezmann converted. Then in the second half, he completely took over. With the match hanging in the balance, Mbappe scored twice in just 4 minutes, firing France to an unforgettable 4-3 win and producing one of the greatest individual knockout performances the tournament has ever seen. Then in the final against Croatia, Mbappe capped off a perfect tournament with a stunning long-range goal as France won 4-2 to lift the World Cup. At just 19 years old, he became only the second teenager ever to score in a World Cup final, joining Pelé in one of football's most exclusive clubs. He finished the tournament with 4 goals and the FIFA Young Player Award. Most players spend their entire career dreaming of a World Cup like that. Mbappe did it as a teenager. If Russia 2018 introduced Mbappe to the world, then Qatar 2022 confirmed he was the best tournament player on the planet. France arrived in Qatar without several key players because of injuries, but Mbappe carried the team on his shoulders. He finished the tournament as the top goal scorer with 8 goals, producing one world-class performance after another. He opened his account against Australia before scoring a brilliant brace against Denmark to secure France's place in the knockout rounds. He then dismantled Poland in the round of 16, scoring twice and providing an assist in another masterclass. But everything led to the final against Argentina. You guys know the game. With less than 11 minutes remaining, France were 2-0 down and looked more finished than Suarez's knees. Then Mbappe decided to wake up and produce one of the greatest individual performances the World Cup has ever seen. He calmly converted a pen in the 80th minute to give France hope. Then just 90 seconds later, he controlled a pass from Marcus Thuram and unleashed an outrageous first-time volley into the bottom corner, leveling the match at 2-2 in the blink of an eye. Even after Messi restored Argentina's lead in extra time, Mbappe refused to let France die. He won another penalty and buried it to complete a historic hat-trick, becoming the first player since Jeff Hurst in 1966 to score 3 goals in a World Cup final. France ultimately lost the penalty shootout, but the result couldn't overshadow what Mbappe had achieved. He walked away with the Golden Boot, proving that even in defeat, the biggest stage brings out the very best in him. So what's the reason for this contrast? How could he be so good at the World Cup, but so disappointing in the Euros? And it's so obvious that Mbappe himself pointed it out with the original quote that I showed you guys early in the video. Well, the reason is quite simple. European teams know each other inside and out. Most of their players face one another every week in the Champions League or in Europe's top domestic leagues. Coaches are extremely familiar with their opponents, giving them the time and knowledge to build the right defensive systems designed to take away their biggest threats. For Mbappe, that's a major problem. His greatest weapon is attacking space behind the defense. But against organized low blocks, that space barely exists. Instead of running onto through balls, he's constantly forced to receive with his back to goal, play in crowded areas, and have to beat 2 or 3 defenders in tight spaces. Those simply aren't the situations where he's at his most dangerous. The World Cup, though, is a completely different environment. National teams from every continent bring different tactical ideas, defensive structures, and levels of organization. Many don't have the same chemistry or tactical familiarity that European nations enjoy. Now, some countries are really good defensively in these tournaments. I'm talking about countries outside of Europe, but their defensive lines are also more likely to lose their shape. The transitions can become super chaotic, and games naturally open up, which is exactly the type of football that Mbappe thrives in. The moment a team loses its defensive structure, he attacks that space at full speed. Look what he was doing to Sweden. Look what he did to Senegal. Few defenders in football history can live with him in an open pitch. And once he gets isolated in 1v1 situations, like he did against Gyökeres in the box, it's barbecue chicken. The advantage always belongs to him. Now, what would happen if Mbappe won the World Cup again? What would it do for his legacy? Well, you can find out in this video right here.